Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner Clark Kellogg, bringing you the 2K Sports Season Preview Show. Here are the top 5 teams in the nation as we head into the season. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets come in as the number 1 ranked team, followed by Oregon, Florida, Utah State, and Virginia Tech. Anything jump out at you from those top 5 teams, Clark?
Sometimes the top players in the nation and the best teams in the nation aren't necessarily together at the top of the poll. But going into this season, we have some of the absolute best players playing on the marquee teams. That's really exciting to me, Greg.
The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are projected as the favorites here in the early going. They've got a whole crew of high school Mr. Basketballs on this team.
A team is usually happy to land one Mr. Basketball, but with the number they have, this could be a golden era of basketball success at this university. There's nothing but good times ahead.
Oregon is in the number 2 spot. They are a very strong team, but they have plenty of competition from within their own league.
Their regular season is going to be a melee with all the other tough teams in the conference. The key for them to survive is going to be consistency. They can't afford to drop any easy games.
Florida comes in as number 3. A pair of players named Mr. Basketball in their home state form the backbone of this team.
Just to have 2 players who bring that kind of confidence, talent, and winning attitude to the table gives this team an advantage that very few schools have.
Utah State starts the year as the 4th-ranked team. This university has been a regular destination for many of the most talented players in the country.
They don't have 3 or 4 All-Americans from high school. They've got 5. When you can put that level of talent on the floor at the same time, it's almost unfair.
Virginia Tech is the number 5 team. Certainly, they'll get a big boost from the return of their leading scorer from a year ago.
That's a big advantage for them. They don't have to spend the first few weeks of the season searching for that go-to guy. They know who he is, and they'll use him.
Here's the next group of teams in our preseason top 25. What's your impression of that set of teams?
These teams might not be in the top 10, but you better not overlook them. I would venture to say that several of these teams will win their conference and surprise people in the tournament.
The Alabama Crimson Tide, the number 9 team, have stirred up a lot of talk in the offseason. They had a wonderful year last season, finishing with 24 wins.
That says a lot about the team they had last year, but trying to rack up that many wins shouldn't be their goal. They need to focus on just playing good basketball and getting to the conference schedule with a nice head of steam. The wins will come.
The Houston Cougars, the number 10 team, have also generated a lot of interest. They're going to have to find someone to fill the void left by their departed leading scorer, Clark.
The important thing for them is not to thrust someone into that role just for the sake of it. It will be a much smoother transition if the players are allowed to ease into their new spot.
Okay, Clark, let's take a look at the teams that close out the preseason top 25 poll. What do you think of this collection?
This looks to me like the deepest preseason top 25 poll we've seen in years. I think there are teams even all the way back in this group that are legitimate national championship contenders.
The Western Illinois Leathernecks, the number 24 team, could be one to watch. They bring back 4 starters, and that should pay huge dividends for them this year.
For the defending NCAA champs to have that many starters coming back, it's hard to imagine that they can't carry that momentum from last year right into this season. They're a serious threat to repeat.
The Indiana Hoosiers, the number 23 team, are also worth keeping an eye on. They were unstoppable last season, finishing with 28 wins.
Matching that record is going to be a challenge, but they simply got to forget about the past and get to the business of winning games right here, right now.
As usual, we have a lot of new coaching hires to tell you about as we start the season. There before you are all the new coaching hires in college hoops. There were some intriguing moves made, that's for sure. The South Florida coach is one of the hires that drew a lot of media attention. The South Florida Bulls have a lot of fans that are delighted to have a coach of his ability, Clark.
He's never been to the Final Four, but he's hoping that this will be the coaching stop that gets him there. And this university and its fans are hoping the exact same thing.
The Maryland coach also made a move to a new school, and that's generated some excitement on that campus. The Maryland Terrapins are a team looking to rebuild under their new leader.
He's gone all the way before, and that provides an immediate boost to the program's prestige. Very few can say they have the same hardware as he does.
We've come to the part of the show when we look at the top players in the nation and unveil the list of our preseason All-Americans. There before you are the 5 first-team All-Americans as we begin the season, and what a list it is. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are pinning their hopes squarely on this young man's shoulders, Clark.
Daniel is the first player on the list for good reason. Feels like this guy's been playing college basketball forever. This will be his 4th year as a starter. But I still don't take him for granted, and I think this will be his best season of all of them.
As for our next first-teamer, Florida is more than willing to go into battle with him, Clark.
Willingham is simply a spectacular player. In addition to everything else he did to help his team win last season, he led them in assists. It's that kind of unselfish play that has made him such a great team leader.
Next up is a player that's drawing comparisons to some of the all-time college greats. The Oregon Ducks are fortunate to have him in their corner.
Foy is one of my favorite players in the country. We always talk about the guys with great hands. Well, he's got great feet. I love those happy feet. There are few players in the nation with better footwork than him, and that's what allows him to always be in the right position, whether it comes to rebounding or finding space for an open shot.
Let's move on to a player who's worked very hard to earn his spot on the list. The Florida Gators can depend on a solid effort from him each and every night.
Wells is going to play a huge role in his team's success. He's a former high school Mr. Basketball he was Florida's Mr. Basketball in high school.
He was the best of the best in his state, but now he wants to prove that he's the best in the nation. He has the skills to do it, so we'll keep him on the watch list.
And finally, we have another superb player to round out the first team. The Stanford Cardinal will probably get used to seeing him make the impossible look ordinary.
Strickland is going to have his own personal highlight reel by the end of this season.
He was a tremendous rebounder last season.
He came away with an average of 5 rebounds a game.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him match those numbers again this year. He has a knack for finding the loose ball.
Now let's move on to the second team All-Americans. Not such a bad list, huh? These elite players all have the potential to have historic seasons if the right pieces fall into place. The Cincinnati Bearcats have built their team around this young man's talent. And I'd say that's a pretty good idea.
Butch was close to a spot on the first team, but there was too much competition this season. He was his team's leading rebounder a year ago, and he looks poised to claim that title again this year. He brings unbelievable physicality to the court and plays a tough, intense brand of basketball.
Our next player is a tremendous talent in his own right. Oklahoma State is in for a treat if he can pull it all together and have a great year.
Prince is in the spotlight for all the right reasons. It isn't out of the realm of possibility to say that he might even be a little bit underrated. I know it seems far-fetched to say that about a preseason All-American pick, but I'm not sure people realize just what a huge year he's in for, Greg.
We can expect to see some amazing performances out of him all year long. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are looking for a lot of production from him, and they probably won't be disappointed.
Floyd is an extremely powerful weapon for his team. If I had to pick some frontrunners for the Player of the Year award, he would be right there on the list. I've seen him take over games even when he isn't scoring 30. There are some great scorers among these All-Americans, and he's one of them, but he does much more than score.
Our next All-American may have designs on the first team by the end of the season. Rutgers has one of the most reliable go-to guys in the country in him.
McFarland is one of the great talents in the college game today. He's back for another go after leading his team in scoring a year ago. If he improves his offense even a little bit, he'll be one of the deadliest scorers in the country.
And here we have the final player on our list of All-Americans, the Temple Owls. Know who their fan favorite is going to be this year?
Salisbury is ready to have a breakout season. He's a 7'1" junior center. This is a big man who produces big time, and he does it on a consistent basis. Unless an opposing team can counter with a big bruiser of their own to keep a body on him, he's going to run him up.
All right, Clark, that should do it for us here in the studio. For myself and all of us here at 2K Sports, thanks for watching our season preview. Enjoy all the college hoops action to come, everyone.